All right, hello everybody, and welcome back to another video. Today, as requested by a few of you guys, I'm going to be talking through kind of my screening routine, which is pretty much the process I take each weekend to narrow down my list of ideas, find top opportunities for the next week, and also kind of give me a sense of situational awareness, what themes are working in the market, and basically the key names that I should be focused on going into the next week. So hopefully this is a helpful video. Make sure to leave a like down below if you do enjoy it. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos just like this one. And this is brought to you by Deep View, which is obviously incredibly relevant because my process now is fully in Deep View. This is my daily driver for screening, watch list management, alerts, charting, everything, and it has been for well over a year now. We've built in a lot of processes into Deep View that help speed up my routine, help make it easier to find top ideas faster for my style and for growth trading. And I think it's just kind of the best platform for swing position trading in the CanSlim growth momentum style. So if you haven't checked it out, highly recommend it. And it's kind of fitting that I'm doing this weekend because we're actually running a special Memorial Day promo. You can either do the trial 2 months for $39. Check it out for yourself. You don't have to listen to what I have to say about it. Go ahead, give it a shot, see if it helps your style and makes your process more efficient. Or you can jump right to the annual plan and save a lot of money right here and basically get 3 months free. There's a really great option as well. And for existing users, definitely check that out as well if you want to upgrade and save. With that said, as I mentioned today, we're going to be walking kind of through my process that I do every single weekend to build that final watch list of around 10 names that then are kind of my focus for that week. And then each day I take it a step further, but that'll probably be a different video, and take those 10 names and focus down to ideally one, maybe 2 or 3 names that I really want to execute well on for that current week and that current day. So this should be hopefully a helpful video, and let's go ahead and dive right in. So first things first, I use a couple screens here in Deep View to kind of organize my process and to kind of serve as my larger universe that then I will scale down and slowly chip away at, cut until I get to a wider screen or a wider list for the week. And from there, and also my kind of universe of potential leaders, I'll then sort through all those different lists and kind of narrow it down to that last final, ideally 10 names or so to focus on for the upcoming week. So with that said, let's go ahead and load up the first screen that I go through. To do that, I click this drop-down menu, go over to Screener Presets, go over to Deep View, and bring up the Deep View Leader screen. This is a screen that I designed personally, and it usually brings up around 100 names, so it's pretty focused. If you think about over 13,000 stocks in our database, bringing that all the way down to just over 100 is pretty great. And what we're focusing on here is looking for growth, trend, relative strength, and kind of the key kind of CanSlim qualities, essentially, as well as liquidity and ideally a leadership group. So that's kind of the filters there. And this is a preset for all you Deep View users. So you can load this. And this is what I use every single week. So let's discard changes so I don't mess anything up. But basically what I do is I'll either sort by a few different ways. Sometimes I'll sort by the absolute strength 1 month, especially after a correction or a pullback, because I want to see what's holding out the best. And then I'll just kind of space through each of the names. I'll look for stocks that are meeting my criteria, that are showing extreme strength, and maybe they're not ready for the next week, but they might be before that. And I'll go ahead and flag them, check them, and add them to a wide screen for the list. So let's go ahead and create that watch list. Let's call it wide. And we're the 24th right now, so 5/24, and click save. And so now we're going to be kind of adding all the stocks that are showing extreme strength or setting up nicely for the next week to that list. And I basically just kind of keep going through and just spacebar through, spacebar through, spacebar through. We've got the strongest stocks at the top. So at a certain point, when we get so weak, I don't really keep going. So that's kind of one way that I might sort through this list. And this is, as I mentioned, most useful when we've just kind of had a pullback correction. When things have just been trending, this isn't the most ideal way. And what I do instead, if I clear the sorting and I've got to actually load it up, is I'll go ahead and do relative measured volatility. I just cleared this out for a tutorial. I'll add that to my list. And what I'll do is sort by RMV 15 days and click that twice. And now what I've basically accomplished is the tightest stocks that are forming tight areas will be at the top of this list, and RMV will be relatively low, right near zero. You can see this is forming a range after this gap down, but this is the ideal setup that I'm looking for, but I'm looking for stocks showing strength and trending and potential leadership groups moving up the right-hand side of a base and then forming a tight area. So although this is tight, it's not what I'm looking for, so I wouldn't flag this name. This one, really strong here, but it's kind of leaking below the moving averages, pulling back to 21 EMA, needs a little bit of work, not really a focus. VITL just kind of trending nicely. PTC gap up, just kind of pulling back. I don't really like the overall setup, so I'll kind of leave this one for now. Cirrus just kind of moving up here. IEC, this is more kind of what I'm looking for, strength, and now pulling back and kind of forming a flat area, tight range against the 21 EMA, compressing. So I'll go ahead and add this one here. And I'll also kind of keep track of, what is the group that it's in. If it's just in kind of a MAG group, and this kind of is in construction engineering, I might not add it to that list. But if right now, if it's in semis, solar, software, AI, blockchain, that's kind of the ideal. And for instance, KD, IT services, that's a little bit more interesting to me. So I'll flag them as well. Super strong, and now kind of trying to tighten against that 10 EMA. So that's something worth watching. NVAX, just kind of moving up, hasn't really pulled back just yet. SRL has a little bit of better shape, and two recent gaps really strong. So I'll go ahead and add that. So actually construction engineering might be a theme worth watching because these are all kind of moving together. So I'm kind of not only just looking for ideas here, I'm also using the industry group to see, what are potential themes that are acting well in the markets. Futu, this is a really fast mover. Look to see if there's a larger pattern here. It's pulling back to the top of this base here. So there's a key level worth watching as well. So I'll add this. And this has just been super strong up the right side here. So I'll add that. Monday would need, a little bit more than a week to form out. TDW, a little bit weak here with this recent bar. Teva, pharma, biotech, this has been strong. We'll go ahead and flag that. So this is just kind of my process. I'll look to see, what groups are acting well. Wix, we'll go ahead and add that. Consolidation really close to this high. RKT, a little bit loose. This one a lot tighter. ERJ, but pulling back to 10 EMA. I'll go ahead and add that actually. MVCR, also healthcare. I noticed this is kind of a trend, flagging a little bit. Would need a little bit more, maybe this is a swing trade type setup, but nothing you can really hold too far. And this is kind of off the bottom. So not the best setup, but we'll go ahead and add it. So I'm not trying to be too restrictive here. This is just kind of the first level of my filtration system. So we've got SG, that looks good. Recent earnings gap, strong move, tightening against that 10 EMA. Keep going here for a little bit just to show you guys. PRCT, that looks pretty good. NTNX, I like the look of that flag, so we'll add that. Zeta, gap down, needs a little bit of time. HIMS, it's been so powerful, and this was an HVE, so I'll add that here. Bros, that's kind of annoying. This kind of broke down a lot further than I'd wanted. If it formed up near here, that'd be good, but it really leaked down to the 21 EMA. Maybe somebody who's really specialized in those pullbacks might like it here, but for me, it would need to have been a little bit stronger to add to this list. Onto, we'll add, what did Onto look like? Yeah, that's not too bad. We'll add that. And as I go down, because RMV is getting higher now, these are getting less and less tight. So I have to spend less time looking through these. This is an energy company as well, CEG or CEIX. So that's also a theme that I've been watching. PSTG consolidating after the breakout. We'll add that. So you can kind of see my process and how I do things. Toast, that's a little bit too weak. Bloom, that looks interesting. Maybe a secondary name. This one moving up the right-hand side. Energy, another oil and gas name. So actually that overall theme was a little bit weak last week, but it's forming a decent base here after a nice move. Let's see if it can actually go. So 30% within this trend. And looking at the ADR over here, 2.65%. So this can actually move, but it's a little bit wide and loose, so I'll leave it for now. Western Digital, not super tight in this area. TTD, decent flag here. But I try to get, more restrictive as we get less tight, or the AS 1 month is declining as well. TTD doesn't look too bad. We'll flag that. And I'll also just kind of flag, leaders that I already know, MSTR, that's in the crypto space. I definitely want to have that in my area. So I'm just trying to make sure that I catch the major themes, the major stocks within those themes that have been acting well. Tandem's been acting well, not really actionable next week, but definitely want to just have that on my radar. CLH forming out a handle here. Powell, if that could, pull back for two days or so, I'll add that. Crowd, similarly, if it could pull back for a few days, that could be good. So that's pretty much, my process, and we'll go ahead and add these to that list. And now we've got that wide list. So that's the DVU leader screen. And then what I'll do, and we can go ahead and clear these out, is I'll load up now my personal screen that I use. It's under favorite screen. It's just called, very descriptive, wide screen. And this brings up more of a wider universe of names that's a little bit less restrictive, doesn't really require too much earnings growth, sales growth, but, is, looking for really strong relative strength. I'll show the filters here, just some type of liquidity. It can move, it's got high ADR, and that's got high relative strength over one of these past time frames, or it was a really serious gap today. So this is something I review every day. And it just does a really good job of capturing the momentum moves. So I'll kind of do the same thing that we did previously, either sort by absolute strength 1 month, or, and I'll go ahead and clear the sorting, or I'll sort by RMV, or sometimes I'll go ahead and sort by the industry. And then you can kind of see, and then sort by absolute strength within that industry. And then you can see within the aerospace and defense, hey, there's only 3 names on here. It's not really a leading theme, but AVAV is the highest here. Let's see what that chart looks like. And you can see, it's wedging up. It's not really actionable, but it's pretty strong. So you might just want to keep an eye on that. But biotech, there's a lot more names here. So maybe you want to focus more on that theme. But that kind of gives me another, sense of feel of what's, leading the market as of this moment. So let's go ahead and clear the sort. But, like I said, after we've been trending already, like we're doing now, I'll sort more by the RMV twice to see, what's tightening up here. And if it's just kind of a biotech name, I'll likely, just ignore it unless it's a name that is familiar. This is, MSauce name, CPNG. I'll go ahead and add that. So it's that same process that I just did, so I won't go too far into it. SOUN, I know that's an AI name. See what that looks like. So, this could really pop, but it's more of a secondary name for me, but I'll go ahead and add that. Let's see here. So you'll see a lot of the same names, but that's good. You want to see kind of that overlap and just give yourself more of a chance to catch a name that's potentially setting up for a nice move. So, I just kind of do that same process that we just went through. So I won't go through the whole list. But, this is a larger list. This is about 300 names. So I see a lot of charts. I see a lot of charts within different groups. And again, it builds that awareness about, what's leading the market, gives you kind of that bottom-ups approach of, what are the themes, what are the stocks that are shaping up together, forming tight areas at the right-hand side of the bases. That's ideally what I'm looking for. And right now we've been trending for a little bit. So I'm kind of more looking for secondary shelf, secondary buy points, ideally still within the base. But, in stocks that have shown really strong strength up the right-hand side, but are now forming, actionable spots, pulling back to the 10 EMA, forming those tight shelves, 3 weeks tight, whatever it is, tight areas after a gap up, something like that. That's kind of what I'm looking for. So again, I'll just go ahead and add this to the wide list. And then what I'll do is now go over to my watch list tab and go ahead and, we'll go ahead over to my universe list. So this is a list that I just kind of keep track of, add stocks that are showing particular strength, that are the leaders within a group that I'm watching. And, these are stocks like FSLR, Coin, HIMS, very liquid names, SMCI, AMD, Tesla, that kind of are pretty representative of potential leadership within the market and the leading themes in the market. So now what I'll do is I'll look for setups within this. Again, I'll sort by RMV. We'll do that twice. And then we can see the tightest names here. So CMG actually looks pretty good, pulling back to the 21 EMA. We'll see if this can reignite kind of the fast food trend. So I'll go ahead and check that. And I'll do that same process that we just went through and look for the most actionable setups. So Reddit forming a little bit of a handle against the 21 EMA, first pullback to that moving average. So we'll add that. But, this is quite a pullback from those highs. So maybe it needs to build out a little bit more, form a little bit of a mini base, but is potentially worth, acting on. So here I'm trying to be more restrictive with the readiness of the setup. Could it potentially go Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday if the setup firms out? Is there a key edge that I'm watching? Is there a key setup that I'm watching? Is there an entry tactic that I could apply, right there in the moment, very soon next week? I'm looking for that type of readiness. So LPX, pulling back to 10 EMA, this is a range breakout. This is a pivot here. RMV right near zero. So this is a lot more actionable. This one as well, STRL, more actionable. Twist pulling back to the 21 EMA. This is also the top of the base. A little bit more of a leak down than I like, but potentially actionable versus that 21 EMA. So again, I'm not being crazy restrictive, but I'm not, just picking any old setup that's extended from a base, a proper setup. And sometimes I'll go more to a weekly chart when I go through these to see kind of really in the larger context of things, what is too extended, what is pretty tight and ready on a weekly chart even, because if it's not really set up on a weekly, it's not likely to make a huge move on a daily chart either. So that's kind of what I'm looking for here. AMC, not really my style, just kind of watching that. PLTR, nothing there. Tiva, this could firm out over the next few days. Pass pulling back to the top of this base, worth watching. SG could break out. So yeah, I'm trying to be more restrictive and think about, what could be actionable over the next few days. Microsoft, even though this might really be a good setup, it might not be, make it to my final list because it's a slower name. It's a little bit more market dependent, and it's just a little bit choppier as well. So even a name that could be a nice cup and handle, if it firms out a few more days, I might not add it to this list. So we'll go ahead and keep moving here. And just do a few more here. So ARM pretty tight here, so I'll go ahead and add that. Again, this is a lot of distribution. It's got some overhead supply to deal with, but is really tight here. I like this action compressing versus the 50, so I'll kind of highlight that. App, let's go here. This is kind of longer in the tooth in terms of its trend, so not really adding that one. So I'm trying to be, again, just a little bit more restrictive here. And now we're getting not quite as tight. So here, bounced off the base pivot, downward trend line. So I'll go ahead and add that. And CMG is setting up. So again, I'm taking that group action as well into account. So I'll go ahead and once I've gone through all these names and really focused on these, because these are the potential leaders, I'll go ahead and add them to that wide list. And then it kind of starts that process of really weaning down and being very restrictive. And I'll make a new watch list called Focus 524. And then I'll really go through these with a fine-tooth comb and say, hey, is it not a top idea for next week? So Bloom, might need a few more days than I'll have next week. CEIX, nice, tight action here. Could be a nice swing trade at a higher level as well. So we'll add that to be the more restrictive list. CLH as well. CMG looks pretty ready. So I'm looking for the most ready stocks now in this moment. And when I go through all of these, I'll go ahead and add them to that focus list. And then I go over here. And if I've got more than 10, 15 max, I'll try to go through again even more and say, which ones have the least potential, which ones are the weakest fundamentally, taking into account the longer term context, which ones aren't leaders within a group. So that final cut really takes everything into account, the potential of the stock, where it's at within its market cycle, how the strength of the group, is it one of the leading themes that are really emerging right now? And I really try to be very restrictive and only focus on the best of the best. And ideally we get to, around 10 names. And then again, each day I look at those 10 names and then say, hey, what are the top 2, 3 that are actionable today? And I really want to enter. And then I set a plan for all of these and, set alerts here. But really we're focusing on the weekly routine. And that's kind of it. That last step to get it under 10 is to be really restrictive and think about how strong is the theme, how strong is the setup, how many edges are apparent, is it really ready to go Monday next week? Would I really want to commit, at least 10, 15% of my portfolio to that idea if it did trigger? So hopefully this was helpful. I'm happy to answer any questions, depending on the market as well. I might run some more specialist type screens. For instance, I made one just recently called super tight, looking for very tight areas. Maybe if everything just broke out or we're coming from a correction that lasted 20 days, I'll look for high relative strength over the past 20 days, something like that. So sometimes I'll run some more specialist screens that are a little bit more focused and kind of add that into the bucket of stocks that I look at each day. But the leaders and the wide screen, that's pretty much it. And pretty much that gets you covered. You'll pretty much see every leader will kind of pass through one of those screens at some point as they develop their setup and potentially look to break out and really start a momentum move. So hopefully, this tutorial helped you guys out. Again, happy to answer any questions you have. And just bringing it back to the main point of this video is each weekend you need to have a process that you do personally that helps you do 2 things. 1, narrow your focus and find ideas for the next week. And get that, as focused as possible, ideally under 10 names. And then 2, that process should also, give you a sense of the market environment, as well as, what are the leading themes and groups that help you focus on the stocks that have the greatest potential in that moment, since they're part of those leading groups. So those are the 2 objectives: to find ideas and then find those leadership groups. And that's pretty much it in terms of your weekly routine and screening for stocks. Of course, you want to take a look at the market, see what the trend is right now. I made other videos previously on that. And I kind of cover that in my stock market outlook video, what I do. So take a look at that video if you want to get a sense of my process there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So again, hopefully this video was helpful. Happy to answer anything you have down below in the comment section. Leave a like down below if you're still watching this point. 100%. Definitely appreciate you and thank you very much. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. And definitely check out the Deep View Memorial Day sale. Really great offer here. We've got a lot of people over the past 2, 3, 4 weeks who have really taken this up and are checking out Deep View and really loving it. So definitely check this out, deepview.com, or the link down below in the description, as well as popped up previously in the video. So thank you again for watching, and I hope to see you guys in future videos. Take care.